Hey y'all, so in today's episode of SimplyLu, we are going to make a pumpkin cheesecake. Now cheesecake is one of my favorite things to make. It literally took me 5 years to decide on a cheesecake recipe that I liked after playing with it over and over and over and over. And then since then I've been just trying a whole bunch of different flavors. So in the spirit of fall, today we're doing pumpkin. So you're going to start off by making the crust. And for the crust, I actually like to use a spiced cookie instead of graham crackers. So something like a Biscoff cookie or the Speculoos cookies, but something that's got kind of like a nice fall or winter flavor, a little bit of ginger in there, a little bit of spice. And then you're gonna ground that up using a food processor, or you can use a blender, or you can just place the cookies in a Ziploc bag and roll them until they're nice and fine. Alright, so to make the crust of the cheesecake, it's pretty simple. So I have my ground up cookies in here, and again, I use like a spice cookie, Biscoff or Speculoos, or even whatever your store brand version of that, with a little bit of pumpkin pie seasoning. And I just put it in the food processor until it became crumb-like, and then you take your melted butter, and you pour it in. Little at a time. What you don't want is it to be greasy and oily, because then when you go to bake your crust, it's just going to be really gross. And you don't want it to be dry either, or else it'll burn. But the trick is, like, if you work it, you're going to have to work it a little bit. Then you can see exactly how well coated your crumbs are. And again, if you don't like spice cookies, then just stick to your regular old graham cracker crust. That's fine too. Maybe you can do like a cinnamon graham cracker crust versus just the basic. And once I get it into my springform pan, which I've already lined with parchment paper, you're just gonna pat it, try to get it as even as you can, and it's gonna bake for 7 to 10 minutes on 350. Then you're gonna wanna take it out and let it cool while you make the filling for your cheesecake. What you're gonna do now that your crust has cooled, you're gonna cream your cream cheese and your sugar together first and make sure that's nice. Now, you don't want your cream cheese to come fresh out of the refrigerator. The goal is to actually have your cream cheese out 4 to 6 hours before you make your cheesecake, so it can come down to room temperature, or else you're gonna have a very lumpy batter. Once you cream the cream cheese and the sugar together, you're gonna add in your egg yolks, 1 to 2 at a time, making sure it's well incorporated before you add the next egg yolk. And then you're gonna add your 2 whole eggs. Once all of that is incorporated together very well, you're gonna add your sour cream, your heavy cream, your vanilla extract, and cream those together well as well. Then the last 2 steps are to add your canned pumpkin and your pumpkin spice mix, and then you're just gonna beat that just for a few minutes, but you don't wanna overmix it. So the best way to bake your cheesecake so that you don't have any cracks in it is to actually use a water bath. A water bath is when you take a flat pan and you add water to it, and then you place your baking sheet or your cooking dish on top. So what I like to do as a trick is I actually like to put my springform pan with my cheesecake in it in a crock pot liner. What that does is it allows me to use the water bath without any of the water actually getting into my cheesecake pan. I know some people just wrap the bottom of their pan in foil, but I think the crock pot liner is actually easier and simpler. So once I place my springform pan in my crock pot liner, I'll place it in the middle of my baking sheet, and then I'll add water, maybe about a ½ inch to an inch up from there onto my pan. I'll put it in a 350-degree oven, and I'll let that bake for 40 minutes. When your cheesecake has gotten to the 35 to 40 minute mark, you kind of want to go in with an oven mitt and shake the container lid to see if it's a little bit jiggly. If it's jiggly, you want to go ahead and turn the oven off, but don't take the cheesecake out. When cheesecake has gone from a temperature that's too hot to a temperature that's cool, that also causes cracks. So you actually want it to let it cool in the oven, and what's going to happen from that is actually going to keep baking a little bit, so you'll have that perfect consistency. Once the oven is all the way cool, you can take your cheesecake out and put it in the fridge to cool before you serve it. So I'm actually just going to take my crock pot liner, and I'm going to place my cheesecake right in the middle of it, in the middle of my baking pan. And what you can do as well, if you don't want to go with the crock pot liner, I think what the most common thing to do is to wrap the bottom of your springform pan in foil to keep the water from getting in. And the reason why it's so important to cook it in a water bath to prevent the water from getting into the cheesecake cheesecake is because cheesecake is almost like a custard. So if water gets in it, it's gonna ruin it. It won't cook, it's gonna be weird and gross, and you don't wanna have to deal with that. Go ahead and put this in the oven at 350. And then I'll take like a measuring cup and I'll just, with the oven door open still, I'll just pour water in it. Therefore you don't make a mess trying to fill this at your sink and then carry the pan to your oven. Alright y'all, so this is the final product. This is our pumpkin cheesecake. You can see the beautiful orange color, how smooth and creamy everything looks. You can see the crust. So it's a good size or good thickness for the crust. So you could serve this just as is. You can serve it with whipped cream. You can serve it with caramel sauce or white chocolate sauce. These are all fall flavors. And if you serve it, I would serve it on a cake stand, which I don't have with me currently. I thought I had one, but I don't know what happened to it.
Where's your cake stand?
I left them at the house.
You left them at the house? They're at the house? Girl, let me have a slice.
All right, so we'll see. And for those of you that may not know, this is my mother. She is visiting with us on the weekend, or this weekend. Probably should have also had a pie thingy.
I think that would be a great idea. I'll taste your cheesecake anyway.
There you go. Food.
This looks delicious.
Flavors of fall.
Girl, can I get a fork instead, please?
Okay. High maintenance when your parents come to town.
Yeah, we don't do seafood.
Delicious?
Delicious.
All right,